Hey everybody, how you doing? This is my third video for the Focus stereo upgrade. This is the one where I put in the amp, I set the audio control LC2i, I set the amp gains, and I get it all put together to where I won't have to ever worry about blowing up speakers or anything like that. So, first things first, we need to figure out the RMS watts on the speaker, which is already done. That's 80 watts. We need to figure out how many ohms the speakers are. We already know that. That's 3 ohms. When you do your math, you're going to type in 4 ohms if you have 4 ohm speakers, which most of you guys do. Then you're going to go to a couple websites I'm going to show you. You're going to use a calculator. Then you're going to go to the other website and grab the audio MP3s that you're going to use to constantly run in a loop on repeat at different frequencies. I'm using 50 hertz, 60 hertz, 800 hertz, 1250 hertz, and 1000 hertz. Alright, so from that point, once you get the voltages outputting correctly, then you're good to go. So, first website I need you guys to go to, I'll put a link in the description below, is crownaudio.com. This is their little Ohm's Law calculator. Okay, so you're going to type in what is the resistance of your speakers. You can type in the wattage you want, and you can get the voltage output. That's what's going to come out of your amp. Max number that's going to come out of your amp at any given frequency. When you switch frequencies, it might not go up to that number. It all depends on what frequency is going to be the loudest in your case, depending on your EQ, depending on all that. Okay, next one, I have testsounds.com. Okay, I'll put a link below for this as well. On this one, you can see I already downloaded. They're free to download. You just right click and save as, and it'll save MP3. So I'm using 800, 1250, 1000, 50, and 60. Alright, so those are the tools you need. You're going to need a digital multimeter to read the voltage. It needs to be at least 0.00 accuracy for what you're going to want to do. So let's get to it, I guess. Alright, so this is the oscilloscope I'm using. It's an Agilent oscilloscope. I just use this for the LC2 only, just to make sure I was getting the right frequency. If you don't have an LC2, then you can use a multimeter. I'm going to show you how to do that as well. So we're on track 1, which should be, I believe, a 50 hertz signal. So you can see right there, as it sits right now, it's showing a peak to peak voltage of about 4 volts. Now, you know, the kicker amp I'm using doesn't really like anything above 8 volts. So I'm gonna set it to under that, 7 to 8. Even though if I maximize this LC2, it'll push out more voltage, but the amp doesn't like it. It'll go into somewhat of a protect setup. So I'm gonna have her track up. So now this is the 800 hertz, and it's saying 2 volts peak to peak. Track up. This is 60 hertz. We're back at 4 volts, and we can crank it a little bit. Alright, so if I crank the bass, now we're at 7 volts. And I don't know if you can see. I'll turn it sideways. What was that, 7 volts? my finger's slipping. There we go. Now I can hold it and show you at the same time. Okay? So that's what my amp likes. So after you set that for both sides, which it should be pretty close to equal, I'm going to go ahead and go to the other side. Here we go. Alright, so 60 hertz, it's showing like 15-16 volts, which is not good. So I can turn down my AccuBase, which is the volume that goes more towards the door speakers, and I can adjust. There we go. That's too far down. So we're at 10, 9, 8, 9, 8, 8, 8.78. So there we go, like 8.2. So I'm just gonna double check because I accidentally touched the base one for the other RCAs. So I'm gonna double check, make sure I'm still good. And I'm not. So I was down 4, 5, 6, oops, 8.2, 8, 7.4, 7.6. That'll be good. All right, now I can show you the next step. So the LC2, the maximized light never came on, but the maximized light never came on, but you don't need it to come on. You just need to set it to whatever your amp can handle. Now, I know some of you out there have, you know, limited budgets, and you know, some of these higher, like this MSRP on this amp I think is $440 or something like that. So I know not everybody can afford that. So if you're gonna go to your local flea market or your local, you know what I'm talking about, the little shops where there's just stereo shit all over the place, and they sell all kinds of stuff like Pyramid, Pile, you know, they sell normal brands too, but they'll sell a lot of the cheaper stuff. You're gonna want to go ahead and make sure there'll be a maximum, which it's not gonna be in the spec. You're just gonna have to do trial and error to see what happens. But I know for the kicker amps, don't go over 8 volts and you'll be good. All right. So next one, most of you either have one of these or you can get one of these. It's a digital multimeter. They have various styles. This one I believe I got at Radio Shack for like 20 bucks or something, so it's cheap. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna set it to AC voltage. All right, now after you set the AC voltage, you're gonna go ahead and take these leads. I'm gonna set this up so you can see, hopefully. Alright, so now that we're here, I need this flathead screwdriver. Okay, you're gonna take the positive, poke it on the positive rail of one of the speakers, and oh, make sure one of the leads of the speakers are disconnected so you do not have a full circuit. Alright, so I have the positive and the negative on the positive and negative. So we're at 5.5 volts right now. So I'm gonna have my fiance click it over, go to the next track, and we're gonna make sure, see where we're at. So now we're at 10.2 volts. Track up. 11.8 volts. And that's track 5. Okay, track up. Alright, so track 5 is gonna be the highest voltage for the door speakers. So go ahead and track back down to 5. Alright, good. So we're at 11.9. Now what I'm gonna run on mine, I decided, is going to be 18. Alright, so that's mid to high 18s. So from 18.5 to 19. It's not going to stay steady, so don't worry about it. So that's going to be what I'm going to run the fronts at. Okay. Now the backs, I'm going to run about 2 volts less, so that they're more quiet. Now, this is going to be personal preference, so I might adjust it from the 2 volts up a little bit, down a little bit, however it feels balanced in the car. But that'll be after the fact. As long as you know how to do this, then you'll be fine. Okay. So now the back, we're at 10. So I'm going to go over here, adjust the gain, get up to... Alright, the track just reset. We're at 14, 15, 16. 16. This is a little finicky. Alright, 16.5. 16.5, 16.7. Alright, so that's 2 volts lower than the fronts. Okay? See, this isn't so hard. Alright. Next, I'm going to do the subs. So I'm going to have her track through again, because the subs take a different frequency. They have a different crossover. Alright. So she's going to track through it. We're at 7.1 next. And we are at absolutely nothing. Next. 7.8. 8.2. So that seems like it's going to be the highest voltage, because all the rest of them are high frequencies. You're not going to get any output. You're not going to get anything really out of, you know, 1,000 hertz, 1,250 hertz. It's not going to show up. So now I'm going to go to my sub gain. Now I know this sub isn't rated for crap, so I'm only going to run 10 volts through the sub, because I'm running the stock sub, and I do not feel like buying a new sub at this exact moment in time. I'm going to make another video on that later. It's going to be all set up different. Now, you're probably wondering, well, there's 2 wires going to the factory amp. There's 2 wires going to the factory amp for the subs, because there's 2 voice coils, and the factory runs 2 different lines to each. Each voice coil gets their own channel, pretty much, out of the stock amp. So what you're gonna do is, in my case, because I don't want to blow it up, I ran them in series, right? They're 2 ohm voice coils. I ran them in series, which means you'll have one wire hooked the positive of one speaker coil. The negative of that speaker coil is going to connect to the positive of the second coil, and then the negative of the second coil is going to go to the amp. So the positive of one coil will go to the amp. The positive of number 2 coil, the negative of number 2 coil, sorry, the negative of number 2 will go to the amp. And then you'll twist the other lines together for a temporary solution until you get your own sub upgraded. And then depending on what sub you get, all that stuff's going to change. I'm looking at the Kicker CVT, which is the real shallow mount one, and I'm looking at the Kicker Comp R. I think they changed the name. It's not Comp VR anymore. It's just Comp R. The 8-inch. They're pretty decent price, and for the box size, the CVT is actually going to work better, because it's good all the way down to 0.3 cubic feet of air. So if you want to check that out, check it out. I'm not trying to rattle the car apart. I'm just trying to get some good bass. So that's pretty much it. So now I'm going to show you how I wired up the stuff in the back. I'm going to give a link or put a picture down below to show the wiring schematic and what you need to hook up where. But I'm just going to give you a quick rundown of how everything is in here. If you have specific questions or you didn't understand anything in this video, feel free to leave a comment below, send me an instant message, whatever you want to do to get a hold of me, and then I can you know, relay you the information in a more drawn out fashion if you're interested. I got no problem with doing that. This stuff's fun for me, and so let's get to it. All right, so let's get this out of the way. Alright, so as you can tell, I still have everything is stock, everything looks stock. Alright, until you get to here, then there's a bunch of stuff going on. So, what you're going to need to do, there's a lot of stuff going on in here. I'm going to give all the wiring codes down below in the description. I'm going to give what you connect where. As far as a remote wire, this LC2 right here does all the remote wire for you. As soon as it sees a signal on the speaker outputs, it turns on, and then as soon as it stops, it shuts off. So you don't have to worry about dealing with any of that. But I still have I had to cut out this little bit of foam right here in order to fit everything without adding extensions and doing all kinds of crazy soldering jobs. So the front, if you want to know real quick, the fronts are going to go like this. One of the fronts is going to be the woofer is going to be a white orange as the negative, white brown as a positive. That same tweeter is going to be gray orange as the negative for the tweeter, and green orange is the negative for the tweeter, positive for the tweeter. Sorry. Down below, you're gonna have the same exact setup with the other side, and it's white black is negative for the woofer, and then a straight white is a positive for the woofer, and then for the tweeter on that side will be yellow with red stripe, it looks, or orange, red. That's a red stripe. Yellow with a red stripe is going to be the negative for the tweeter. Purple with the red stripe. No, sorry, those are both orange. Purple with the orange stripe is going to be the positive. Alright, so those will be the fronts. The backs you saw in the other video, you have to put the crossover. You have to put the crossover inside of the door. They only have one wire going into the door, so the crossover has to go in the door. Alright, now I thought I found a remote wire that was good on this line. Problem is, it's only 5 volts, so you're kind of screwed. 5 volts is not enough to kick on most of these. Amps nowadays. You need at least around 9 to 10 volts, I believe. Like I said, each amp's going to be a little different. So, I'm using a stock sub still. Like I said, I will upgrade that. So yeah, I'm going to put as much information as I can down below. If I forget something, let me know. I'll edit the video and put it in the description. And yeah, so I hope you enjoyed these videos. I tried my best to try not to miss anything, tried not to make it too boring with you watching me solder and heat shrink and all that crazy horse shit. Nobody wants to watch that, and since I don't have editing software yet, that would make it a little difficult to actually do anything. So until next time, have fun in your garage, and I'll see you next time.